8:17. It feels like it's 8:17 p.m. because of how much news has happened politically, and this is just involving one person, which is our president, and what he had to say yesterday during a meeting with lawmakers. So both Democrats, Republicans got together in the Oval Office. They're talking about DACA. President Trump rejected this bipartisan deal on DACA, which the people there wanted to, as you're watching us right now, protecting immigrants from Haiti, El Salvador, and African countries as part of this immigration deal. So we know they're under deadline. If they don't have a decision by a certain date coming up the next week or so, then the government is going to shut down. So they're trying to get through all of this. Well, he said, he as in President Trump, why are we having all these people from, insert expletive here, countries come here? So, bad word.
My blood boils.
Not a good word of choice. So everyone was going, wait, what? This isn't very presidential. So we didn't hear about this until the Washington Post came out with this article saying this is what President Trump said. And he was referring to the countries mentioned by the lawmakers. So he also said, according to them, this is all allegedly, right? Because now President Trump is denying it. But he also went on to say, according to the Washington Post
Did you expect something different?
He also said,
I didn't.
We need to bring more people from countries such as Norway, whose prime minister, by the way, he met with on Wednesday.
Oh, so people are also naturally white.
Right.
Oh, that's interesting.
So Don Lemon last night on his show on CNN came out with the straight up, our president is a racist. And you hear all these people coming out with these allegations, if not allegations, but coming out with these claims given the allegations and what was said in this meeting. So, the president wakes up this morning, probably watched the news last night, everyone coming down on him. This wasn't a very presidential thing for him to say, using cuss words. We work in TV. We can't even use the word that our own president said on our own air.
But let it be known, we are making that decision here because we're a local affiliate on cable
but
news.
All over CNN,
and all the analysts, they were saying it, and it is in the headline for the Washington Post, and they believe that that's the first time they've ever used that word in print form.
Well, one of the people in that article said it was the first time they had ever heard somebody, a presidential person, say that word in regards to anything business-oriented.
So,
anything.
If you're wondering what the word is, and it's tough to, like, 'cause again, we can't say these things, but if you go online this morning, you're going to see it all over everywhere. Trump's response, right? So he woke up this morning and he put out this tweet. The language used by me at the DACA meeting was tough. But this was not the language used. What was really tough was the outlandish proposal made, a big setback for DACA. And then Haitian government, the AU came out, and I had to write all this down because I had to make sure and keep up with this. The African Union responded with, given the historical reality of how many Africans arrived in the United States as slaves, this statement flies in the face of all accepted behavior and practice. So the spokeswoman, this is the AU spokeswoman, Eba Kalando said, this is particularly surprising as the United States of America remains a global example of how migration gave birth to a nation built on strong values of diversity and opportunity. President Trump also tweeted in response to that, never said anything derogatory about Haitians other than Haiti is obviously a very poor and troubled country. Never said take them out. Made up by Debs. I have a wonderful relationship with Haitians, probably should record future meetings. Unfortunately, there is no trust.
As you were reading all of that, our viewers are chiming in loud and clear. And I will filter what they're saying as well. Because sometimes they get a little mouthy as well.
The president elicits strong emotional reaction. In opposite sides always, and then the confrontation is in the comments of any online forum you'll see out there.
Pamela Elliott, number 45 is a real POS. Fact. Then we have Terry Latsko saying, time to begin an impeachment process. Interesting. Kimberly Morgan says hi to Glenn. Everyone is saying hi to everybody else. But then we have, interesting. People are wondering why we are choosing to talk about this morning. What else would we talk about?
Well, it's the decisions we make, just to be completely transparent with everyone, because sometimes we see numbers up, we see numbers down, and of course we want to make sure we have a program that is as attractive to all of you in terms of what it is that not only, it's not about what we have to say per se, it's about what everyone in the world is talking about. And this is definitely one of the topics this morning, given all the information by 8:15. Go ahead.
And I would love, I'm sure there's a comment very soon in here supporting Trump and what he said and backing up what his point of view. just to get you caught up on the sort of back and forth, the senator from Illinois, Dick Durbin, he's trending because he went in front of a microphone and in front of a camera and he said, I was in the meeting, and not only did the president say this, he said it multiple times.
Right.
And it got to the point where I felt like I had to say something, and I did. And I want to call out my colleague, Senator Graham from South Carolina, because he also got to a point where he felt like he needed to say something as well. And that's what he did in the meeting, and I respect him for doing that because, you know, we were, and I'm paraphrasing, okay, but
right, of course.
And the interview's out there. Please watch it so you can get a direct source on this instead of the weather guy, right? But so anyway, I think if you look at the list of people who were in the room, Dick Durbin was the only Democrat in the room. They were talking about immigration. Kevin McCarthy, Republican, he's from California. He's very high up on seniority. Lindsey Graham is very well known.
Right.
So I think Dick Durbin, by going in front of a microphone, in front of a camera versus anonymous sources in the room tell me, is wanting to basically confront the allegations that the president did not say this or it wasn't clear or all of that. So this is a story, we're talking about it now because it's in the middle of it, number one. And number two, it's a story that we will be talking about throughout the course of the day. I don't think anything else is going to pop up today. Of course, I've been wrong many times.
Right.
Yeah, it's still early, but this is basically a story because you have an individual, you have people in the Senate.
Right.
You still have the immigration issue, which is not decided, by the way, so that's legislation. And then you've got international governments, not only just Haiti, but other international governments that are speaking out against this whole scenario.
Here's the thing. One of our followers, Robert Hicken, is asking, he said specifically, oh, wow, so you're really going to make this about race? So surface. But Robert, here, this is absolutely about race. In a year where everything that the president has said has triggered an emotional and visceral response from people about race means that this is a topic that we need to talk about. Because like some of our other viewers have said, Kathleen Sandberg Marquez, keep talking. People need to be aware of what our so-called leader is doing. We need to make people aware of the conversations like Don Lemon did last night when he called President Trump out for the racist comments that he makes and alleged comments that he made in that room that the Washington Post called out. And so we have the audio from Don Lemon from last night, and I think everyone needs to hear it. Producer Christy is bringing it up for us.
Oh, she is.
She is bringing it up.
We're waiting.
I would like the Don Lemon video.
And just so you know, there's a history, a direct history
with Don Lemon
of the president
Trump.
and Don Lemon on Twitter.
We have Lemon. Go ahead, take it away.
You may be taken aback by my comments. I want to be very clear here. I don't really care if you are. I hope you are. For years now, it has been, 2.5 years since he officially entered the political arena. For years, I and others have been trying to tell you, the American people, that this man was exhibiting bigoted behavior. I asked him about it a number of times, and he denied it, but kept up the racist rhetoric and behavior throughout the campaign and now while he's in the White House. His supporters made excuses, continue to make excuses for him. Some of them people I personally know. Some of them are his friends, as a matter of fact, and I can hear them now telling me, oh, Donald didn't mean that. Donald isn't a racist, or just people who don't know him. I think he was taken out of context. I'm not sure. How many examples do you need of this? But he is a racist. And for all of you who over the last few years have uttered that tired, lazy, uninformed, uneducated, ignorant response of calling me and others who point out racist behavior racists, you know what you can go do?
You heard that?
I can't say that, but you can go read a book, a history book, because you might learn that people from some of those shithole countries were slaves who were brought here by force to help build this country, and then start your learning process from there.
So there's Don Lemon once again on the show last night.
He is voicing what so many people are feeling.
But you have to also remember that there are so many people that support Trump as well.
I'm sure they do.
Which is why this has become such a conversation, because some people will say, just like Don Lemon was saying, he's not a racist. Is he wrong in saying that these countries need the help that they need? He just doesn't want to be the one to help them. He wants people from Norway. He also had mentioned, why don't we bring more people from Asian countries? They tend to help us as Americans out financially more. So Trump is all about whoever's helping us, we help them. And I just pointing out the fact that the reason why, he didn't win the popular vote. But he didn't win the
Not true.
Electoral College.
But when
Right.
you rescind a decision to keep 60,000 immigrants from Haiti, refugees, because of the earthquakes that happened, and you tell them that you need to go back to your country by July of 2019, what else could it be? Why would you not
Right.
allow
Call
those
it what
people
it
to
is.
come into this country?
Right. I think this struck me today as people are talking about Haiti. Haiti's in the news, right?
Right.
For this. But Haiti was going to be in the news today anyway. Because this is where the weather aspect comes into this. 8 years ago today, there was a 7.0 earthquake in Haiti. And it was a shallow earthquake. And Haiti
What do
is
you
a
mean by
country.
that?
It was very close to the surface, meaning that even if it was a 7.0, which is strong anyway, but it was much more destructive.
Okay.
All of these structures came down on people. And I think people have a hard time understanding what happened in Haiti. There's between, and they don't know, somewhere between 100 and 300,000 people, okay? That would be essentially like the entire Stockton metro area killed in the earthquake. And that's just a death, right?
Right.
That's whole families that died, that's kids that died, that's parents that died, so now the kids are orphans. And then it's everybody trying to recover from that because the economy struggled anyway. Now
Right.
you have rubble everywhere. A huge international, no questions asked, we're all coming to help because they're definitely, in for the Western Hemisphere, the most impoverished country in the Western Hemisphere. These people are born victims of their environment because
It doesn't happen overnight.
They were born into a country that has struggled for years and years and years and years. Then they get hit with a 7.0 earthquake. So there is no food, there is no water.
Right.
What are you going to do? And I always, on this show, I'm like Mr. Empathy, but let's not make it about race for a second.
Okay.
Let's make it about poor, just being born poor. And what are you going to do about it?
Systematic exclusion.
Exactly.
I'd call
So
it.
a lot of Haitians had said, we need help and we cannot get our lives back together here. Will you take us in? And the United States took them in over years and years and years because this is a pathway to a better life.
Right.
And then now
It's what we
the
pride ourselves
reward
on.
for all that is all of a sudden they're supposed to go back to a country that is still struggling on a day-to-day basis. So I'll tell you right now, if you don't want to make it about race, you can make it about people that they were born with almost nothing and then they
Right.
got even that taken away. So is there any empathy for these people, born poor, trying to make a better decision for their life and for their family? And the United States has always been that country that said, hey, you can come here and make it here. We are here
Live
to
the
help.
American
Not, you can't have everybody, right?
Yes.
Because that's too much. But in that moment, that's one of the reasons why. You add in countries like El Salvador. Do you guys know about El Salvador? The people there, gang violence is absolutely
It's
out of
insane.
control.
Yes.
So if you are a young person, if you're a parent, you have a girl, they are constantly, with the gang violence and everything,
They're at risk.
pressure on all of these young people, for the young men getting pulled into the whole gang culture, and for the young women being victims themselves for all sorts of things. They make a decision point, we need help, we are victims, we're not going to make it in this country. And the United States has opened up their doors legally.
Absolutely.
And we need to mention there's also a lot of illegal immigration from El Salvador and other countries nearby.
Right.
And it's just, you have to understand where all this is coming from.
But you also have to understand that America is a society built off this idea that you can come here to escape the life that you lived and then a life that you were oppressed in to try and make a better life for
Right.
yourself. And I understand that we can't have the doors open 100%, but closing them 100% isn't going to work either
Right.
to enhance our culture and to keep us who we are as Americans. And
But does President Trump care about the future beyond his term?
that's a great question. I
He
don't.
wants to leave. What does he want his legacy to be, right? When
Well-
it comes down to money and business and
Right.
the success, and he always talks about, the stock being the stock markets being at the highest they've ever been. Blah, blah, blah. It's all about to him the money and what he's doing now to try to make sure
Right.
that his legacy, in the end, he doesn't. All these things make sense to the people who have hearts and who care and who
Right.
yes, that's
Right.
what our country was
Right.
founded on. But the fact of the matter is,
Right.
he has his way. He was voted in, and there's a large portion of the United States who feels the way he feels. And as he's saying those things, they're going, yep. He's saying what we're thinking and feeling. So
But then-
is the problem Trump? Is he part of the problem? This is very
without
deep
question.
roots. There's deep roots with, he's not just the one person that feels that way. He represents a part of this country.
But as Don Lemon said, he didn't even hide this about himself. It was part of his campaign.
Exactly.
And then even yesterday, I believe it was,
president.
Raj Shah, who's one of his communications people, said that there have been politicians in the past that care about the well-being of foreign countries. But Donald Trump has and will always be concerned about America first. And I believe you have to care about the country that you're representing first, but that doesn't mean that you need to shut it out to other people who could benefit from it.
And he doesn't care.
But what an interesting decision point. So let's just say as a base that he's make America great again, America first and all that. So then when confronted with the immigration issue of some people will be immigrating here, he has reportedly said, well, between the two, I'd rather have Norwegians come in than Haitians or Africans. As someone said, it was actually about people coming from Africa. So that's his choice and his language, reportedly, is that maybe he's not totally against immigration, but if it comes down to that, why Norway? What is it about Norway?
He just met with them on Wednesday, and
it was
the
top
head
of
Norway,
mind.
top of
and
mind.
you mentioned other Asian countries as well.
Exactly.
So
He said because they bring in the money. It all comes down to that. Who's going to help us more? You know, to him, he thinks DACA, he thinks illegal immigration, not realizing that these kids were brought here before they even had a decision to make, before the age of 16, brought here. The only country they know is America. The only family, they don't even speak the language half the time. I have friends, I have family who are under this DACA, which came to fruition in 2012 under President Obama's administration. And those people who want the best for dreamers, kids under DACA, they don't even want, like, when all of a sudden people started saying, we want DACA. DACA is just a Band-Aid solution. DACA has never been the long-term solution. So there needs to be a decision. How are we going to protect these dreamers? And then moving forward, how are we going to put our hands on illegal immigration? Like, how are we going to get a hold of that?
We've been trying. Everyone's tried.
And from my understanding, those conversations that happened yesterday, they're almost at a deal for DACA, and then this happens, or for illegal immigration rather, then this happens, and now they're saying that this could set everything back because now everyone's just in uproar over it.
Okay, I would love to hear
Poor dreamers.
We have our resident teacher. You shouted her out this morning. We have Alejandra H.L. She said, morning again. I'm here in class watching my kids have their breakfast and work on their morning, and I pray that all of these slurs and negativities coming from the White House don't reach them. I pray that my little ones don't become scared to go out and make a life for themselves. I teach bilingual class. All of my beautiful students deserve to grow up in an environment where their race does not matter. That is impactful.
I want to speak to one thing too. One of the things being discussed about this is that he was saying that it wasn't about the people, it was about, the country.
Yes.
That's kind of like, maybe this is not an apt metaphor, that's kind of like saying, oh, they come from a horrible family. But I'm talking about your family. I'm not talking about you.
The minute you talk about my family, you're talking about me.
So you're parsing words a little bit. The overall impact is maybe that's true, but it's not hard to see how people are still offended.
I mean, history lesson, people from Haiti were slaves that came over from Africa. So if you have a thing against African countries, then transitive property, you got a thing against Haiti.
Right.
It all adds up.
Yeah, it's not going away because it's curious who are the other senators in the room will either say Dick Durbin is not telling the truth.
Well, who's going to say this didn't happen? Right. Is there going to be someone who's going to put themselves on the line and potentially lie, or maybe not? These are all still allegedly, because unless there's a recording, how are we going to know?
And what does a non-response mean?
Yeah, and what does a non-response mean?
A non-response also says something, but then you can also parse that out either way as well.
But saying the language used by me this is again a Trump tweet this morning, the language used by me at the DACA meeting was tough. So admitting it was tough, whatever language. He didn't say specifically what words he used, but this was not the language used. So then denying, it's like a halfway denial. I just don't understand that. What was really tough and then goes on to say spins it. If you turn this
into algebra,
I'm here for it.
Right? If you just said, okay, that's a little confusing. But we're talking about English?
Yeah,
exactly. It would be like 1 + 1 = 1 - 2. Or, it just doesn't add up.
It doesn't add up.
The language was tough. But this was not the language used. I don't understand that.
But I love that Dick Durbin stood up. White Democrat stood up and spoke up and said, hey, I heard what you said. I know that cameras weren't in that meeting. And Donald Trump always goes back to this idea that it should have been recorded. Let's play the tapes. And yet we can never get tapes on these things.
We want to see the receipts.
Except for the one tape where we do hear you saying things inappropriately about women. I I wish we could call back these tapes because it'd be interesting to hear what they all say.
Yeah.
Hey guys,
Just saying.
politics, huh?
Yeah.
It's a sticky situation, but I could talk about it all day.
I can go big picture on this. One thing
for
that's been aggravating me for so long is I feel like there's this thread in society now where we live in. It's not what is true or isn't. It's what you can prove, which is kind of like living life in a courtroom. It's not. It's not. Did my client do this or not? It's what can you prove. So in other words, if you extrapolate that philosophy, you live in a world where everything is fluid and all that. It's only what you can prove definitively with video or with photos or with audio, and then even that goes to debate. So it's almost like a weird. Instead of taking people at their word, we don't do that anymore. Everything's got to have proof, and then the proof is always debated, and we go on and on and on and on.
Even if it was recorded, like the case of Access Hollywood and the Billy Bush scandal and what Trump said, and because we heard it, even with that, there's still denial, though. So it's sometimes, like you say, it doesn't add up, but we hear you. And I didn't do it.
Right.
So what do you do?
What
Because he's saying he didn't.
What was that song? Was it Akon? It wasn't me.
It wasn't me. You just have to keep saying that.
Shaggy. Sorry, Akon.
Of course, the millennial behind
You
it.
get for having the weather guy come in here.
But you know what?
Oh, Shaggy. That was a very old song. Good reference, though.